What exactly are heart rates and how do they figure into your training? Hello, fellow geeks, and welcome back to Running Geek Girl. My name is Heather, and I am glad you are here. By the way, when I say I'm glad you're here, I don't just mean on the channel. I mean, I'm just glad you're here in general. Thank you for existing. Now, this may come up more often if you are newer to running, or maybe you just don't know a whole lot of the terminology, but sometimes you'll hear somebody talk about that they were doing a run in zone 2, or maybe they were working on lactate threshold, and you're not really sure what all of those things mean. Well, today we're going to be talking a little bit about your heart rate zones, and so you can make a more informed decision about how to attack your workouts. Let's talk a little bit about it. Now, the goal of heart rate training zones is to make you a more efficient runner, but to challenge yourself to improve your cardiovascular fitness. Your heart rate zones are a percentage of your maximum heart rate, heartbeats per minute. If you are going too close to your maximum heart rate, then your heart and your body are going to struggle to keep up with the demands. And so exercise heart rate zones help you train based off of your maximum heart rate. And as you increase your pace, your cadence, and your workload, then you're going to increase the demands on your heart. Now, you may have noticed if you own some type of a sports watch that it's going to give you information about your heart rate. And you're maybe wondering exactly how do you use this information? What do all of these numbers mean? So let's talk a little bit about that first. We're going to start with your resting heart rate, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's the rate your heart beats while you are not doing any activity at all. It usually varies from about 60 beats per minute up to around 100 beats per minute. Now, a lot of things go into seeing what your resting heart rate is, your age, your gender, medications you take. So don't worry right off the bat what your resting heart rate is, because as your fitness improves, then your resting heart rate will get lower. Next is your recovery heart rate, and this is how much time it takes for your heart to return to its resting heart rate after you exercise. Now, it's similar to resting heart rate in that as it improves, it's a sign that your fitness is also improving. Next is going to be your HR max. That is your maximum heart rate, and this is the absolute fastest rate at which your heart is able to beat. This is what a lot of coaches and trainers will look at when they are trying to set up your personal training program. And then finally, we have what's called the heart rate training zones. Now, as your training gets a lot more intense or more specific, then your heart rate is going to rise. And so a good way to control that exercise intensity is by tying training levels to different heart rates. The heart rate zones are just ranges of heart rates that correspond to the intensity levels that you choose to train at. So if you're going to train by heart rate, then you kind of need to know some specific measurements. First of all, your resting heart rate, which is going to be easy to check. You just check your heart rate after you get up first thing in the morning. That's usually the easiest thing to do. But let's talk about how you can calculate your maximum heart rate. Now, it used to be that you would just take the classic 220 minus your age, but that's considered inaccurate, especially the older that you get. There's a revised formula that's 208 minus 0.7 times your age, which is a little bit better, but it's still based off of statistics of large numbers of people's lab results. A lot of times it doesn't take into account things like your genetics, your physiology, prescription medications, so you're going to get different HR max results for different people of the same age. So you do have the option of getting a stress test in a lab that involves you setting up a session with a cardiologist or heading to some sort of an elite training facility. Some universities will also do stress tests if you agree to be part of studies that they're conducting. Or the easiest is going to be just to do your own field HR max test. So as long as your doctor gives you the okay to stress your body like this, then you can just get your heart up to maximum intensity. Now, short of a lab test, this is usually the best way that you're going to get a result to accurately reflect your personal factors and physiology. So one example would be to run as fast as you can for 3 minutes, rest for 3 minutes, and then run as fast as you can for 3 minutes again. And the highest reading, which is typically going to be during that second run, is going to be your HR max. Now that you know your resting heart rate and your HR max, then you can start figuring out your heart rate training zones. Really good plans will utilize heart rate training zones, which are calculated in relation to your HR max. Now, if you're starting out on a brand new fitness program, then most doctors are going to tell you to stay within your moderate zone, which is 50 to 70% of your HR max. Now, as you become more fit, then you can start doing some training that is more in what is called the vigorous zone, which is 70 to 85% of your HR max. And eventually you can start transitioning to training plans that use a multi-zone approach. So let's talk about just an easy example of how different heart rate zones can be approached. First, you have zone 1. This is usually used for recovery. It's a very easy pace, and it's 55 to 65% of your HR max. This is used to get your body moving with minimal stress and exertion. You can use this for warming up or cooling down. Next up is going to be zone 2, which is about 65 to 75% of your HR max. And this is usually what's known as an aerobic zone or a base zone. You use this for longer training sessions. You can keep this pace up for lots and lots of miles, but you're still able to talk. That's why a lot of people will refer to this as conversational pace. You are still able to get a full sentence out easily. Zone 3 is what a lot of people will call tempo, and this is 80 to 85% of your HR max. This is where you start pushing the pace a little bit to build up speed and strength, and you are still able to talk, but not as easily as you could earlier. Zone 4 is your lactate threshold. This is 85 to 88% of your HR max, and this is when your body is processing the maximum amount of lactic acid as a fuel source. Above this level, lactic acid is going to build up too quickly to be processed, and it's going to start fatiguing your muscles. If you train in this zone, it helps your body develop efficiency while you're operating at your maximum sustainable pace. And in zone 5, this is what's called the anaerobic zone. This is 90% of your HR max and above. This is a maximum speed zone. This is something that you're not going to use very often, maybe in just the last little section of a race, and maybe if you were doing a 100-meter dash, but this is something that you are not expected to keep up for a long amount of time. This is where your body is learning how to recruit additional muscle fibers and how to fire your muscles more effectively. A lot of times, training plans will also tell you to use RPE, or rate of perceived effort, or rate or perceived exertion. This is used when you start to get more of a feel of the training zones. You can figure out what zone you're in just by maybe how you're breathing, how you feel, and so you can spend less time looking at your watch and more time just experiencing your activity. But if you still need a little bit of additional help, you can always set your watch to alert you when you're above or below the heart rate for the zone that you want to be in. Now, a typical training plan is going to utilize multiple training zones, but you're not going to train in each zone for an equal amount of time. If you look at a lot of plans, specifically plans such as Maffetone method or 80-20, then you're going to spend most of your time around zone 2, and that is that conversational easy pace. So how do you know what heart rate zone you're in? Thankfully, if you have some sort of a sports watch, they are very good about letting you know exactly which zone you are in based off of your HR max and your resting heart rate. In the past, these have not been super accurate, but many watchmakers have gone above and beyond in trying to make these as accurate as they possibly can. A lot of people still, though, will swear by the straps that you can wear usually around your chest in order to measure your heart rate. So you do have that option available, and there are some really inexpensive options that are available all over Amazon. Just do a quick search. I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for. But overall, whether you are new to running or you have been running for a long time, taking a look at your heart rate zones is a way to really kind of figure out where your sweet spot is for your training. Just being able to look at the numbers and whether they are going up or down or staying the same, you're able to kind of get a better measure of where your fitness is going. I know some runners that absolutely swear by looking at their heart rate, and I know other runners that don't ever look at it at all. What camp do you fall into, or are you somewhere in between? Why don't you let me know down in the comments below? Don't forget that you can subscribe to this channel. Just click the button down below. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it keeps you up to date on all the running content I have coming out all the time. You can also follow me on social media. All the links are down in the description. You can find me across all platforms under the name Running Geek Girl. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I can't wait to see you again. Remember to laugh hard, run fast, and be kind. I'll see you later. We'll be right back.